Hello, everyone. Thank you for that. I am Natisha Booker. I am a PhD candidate in computer science at North Carolina A&T State University, where I work in the Human-Centered AI Lab under the supervision of Dr. Maud Anwar. And today I am presenting our work on the automatic retrieval of privacy factors from IoMT privacy policies, a machine learning and custom name entity recognition approach. First, I'd like to introduce the Internet of Medical Things, or IoMT, which refers to the collection of devices and applications connected to the Internet to provide healthcare services. Devices include connected inhalers and MRI machines, and application usage range from activity recognition to medical adherence. IoMT increases efficiency and accessibility. So, for example, individuals in rural and remote areas with limited healthcare providers can connect with doctors remotely. The benefits also include reduced medical costs, providing earlier detection of diseases and disorders. And with the increase in applications and benefits, Fortune Business Insight predicts the market is expected to grow to $187.6 billion by 2028. However, as IoMT usage increases, so do privacy concerns. Evident in the media headlines shown here, health data is a frequent target of attacks, ranging from ransomware to employees stealing data. There's unease over potential surveillance and data misuse and abuse by healthcare organizations and third parties. Data protection laws and regulations are increasing globally to protect users and their data from the concerns of emerging technologies such as IoMT. And a central theme among those data protection laws and regulations is transparency. And one of the tenets is to provide detailed information to users, which is commonly placed in a privacy notice or privacy policy. However, as we know, privacy policies are rarely read and they have serious issues, including they're comprehensive, covering multiple platforms, varying audiences, and they produce mixed practices. And they're difficult to comprehend, they're vague, they're time-consuming to read. But even though they have all these issues, alternatives such as graphical and machine-readable privacy policies have not been adopted for several reasons, including companies lack incentives, they're not legally binding. And so despite its flaws, the role of natural language privacy policies remains cemented in our digital privacy ecosystem and is a growing research area. And two themes in this area includes defining the criteria to assess privacy policies and examine the content of the text of the privacy policy. And privacy policy analysis has been used to examine the privacy policies of websites, mobile applications, and the Internet of Things devices. However, IoMT and health-related devices are often excluded from privacy policy analysis studies. So in our research, we wanted to evaluate the appropriateness of combining machine learning and custom name entity recognition techniques to create IoMT-specific fine-grained annotations to identify relevant information to aid users, including privacy policy analysis researchers and developers. To develop the appropriateness of combining those techniques to reveal those IoMT-specific privacy-related topics, we followed a four-step approach. First, we identified IoMT-specific privacy-related topics. Then we selected a privacy policy dataset. We refined the dataset for our domain and trained and tested our models. Since we focused on IoMT devices, we leveraged the Privacy Policy Assessment Questionnaire, which is an evaluation criteria framework for the privacy policies of IoMT devices for our relevant topics. It contains 7 categories that were derived from IoMT-related data protection laws and regulations. And for our data set, we selected the Online Privacy Policy Set of 115 corpus, or OPP 115, to build our model because it contained labeled privacy policies that were annotated by legal and privacy experts. The annotations include paragraph-level annotations according to a set of privacy factors, along with more granular annotations related to a subset of attributes. And while OPP 115 does not contain IoMT privacy policies, we selected it because of the annotation quality, the comprehensive privacy-related factors, and privacy policies often follow a similar structure regardless of their domain and content. We mapped the OPP 115 factors to the PPAQ as shown here. And it's important to note that there is not a direct one-to-one mapping for each PPAQ category to the OPP 115 dataset. So for example, the OPP 115 corpus does not contain a children factor, but it does have an international and specific audiences factor with an attribute audience type that has a value of children. So we use those specific annotations to map back to the children category in the PPAQ. And this is a overview of the different mappings we use to build the multi-label classification model. And we selected multi-label because a paragraph in a privacy policy may relate to multiple topics. We divided this corpus into 70% training, 30% testing, and we used the linear support vector classification for the multi-label. It's shown here, data collection, data sharing, policy change, and children performed the best with F1 scores of 80% or higher. And to provide more granular information, we opted to create a custom named entity recognition model with 11 entities, including children's age that was defined in the privacy policy, data retention periods, personal information type, and phone numbers, things of that nature. And we leveraged the attributes of OPP 115 to create the annotated data set for the custom NER model. But the data set contains coarse-grained paragraph level annotations, but in our custom entity name recognition model require refinement. So here's an example of a paragraph that's labeled as children in the OPP 115 data set. And for our name entity of children age, we need more granular information. And so to capture that, we would remove everything else to just get down to that under 13 years of age or under 13. And in this table, it shows the results for our custom NER model, which ranges from 6% to 88% for the F1 score, and the children age, date, and email and phone number performed well, likely because of the defined structure. Combining the techniques can provide a more comprehensive view into the data practices of an IoMT policy. So for example, in this paragraph, the model returns the high-level categories, data collection and sharing, and more specific information about the types of personal information and recipients. Our next steps are to improve the fine-grained annotations for data collection and sharing practices, then to evaluate the model on IoMT device privacy policies, and leverage the model to automatically detect potential mismatches between users' preferences for IoMT device data practices and those extracted from the privacy policies. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hi, great presentation. This is not more of a question, but a student of mine, Andrik, is doing working on OPP 105 classification as well, and we are particularly looking on sentence level classification. Just wanted to add that I'll probably share that work with you that can hopefully be helpful here. That initial work was accepted to PST, and the final is in PETS, but I'll share both of them, at least the pre-prep with you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Sanchari. I'm from the University of Denver. Okay. I don't know whether you can see me, but I'll ping you over Slack.
Thank you.
Okay.
When you were looking at these policies and running the analysis, were there any that you were looking for that specifically were dealing with the types of data they were collecting, or was it specifically looking at just the characteristics of the policies and what was being held for matching with the information that the policy had itself?
Thank you for that question. So initially the goal was to be able to just pull out the different types of data or different types of data practices. And the goal is to begin to specifically look at, for data collection and sharing, those personal information types to say, is it health information? Is it financial information? Is it activity, contact information? So we're hoping to get to that more fine-grained area of it, but data collection is so it's so heavy in privacy policy. So we're going to need another level in our model. So we are looking at the specific types of information that's collected especially health information and the different categories in there. So that is a direction we're looking forward to moving into to get even more granular in those annotations.